What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Harry the Horse Barbecue, and today I'm gonna show you how I store some of my wood using an old pallet that the fat stack came on, and I'm gonna show you how I store not one, but two piles of wood. Let me show you how I do it, Harry the Horse Barbecue style. Let's get it.
Harry the Horse Barbecue.
Wood storage is something that not a lot of people talk about in the barbecue game, but it is essential to making good barbecue. Now, about a year ago, I made a video all about barbecue cooking wood. My barbecue cooking wood video goes into detail about the type of wood that I use for barbecue, the process I use to select pieces of wood when cooking barbecue, and I also talk about other fuel sources you can use for your barbecue cooks. Now, once you got two giant piles of wood like I have here, what are you supposed to do with them? I'm gonna use this old pallet wood from the fat stack when I had it delivered, and I'm gonna reconfigure it a bit to create a little bit of a wood rack, and I'm actually gonna store this wood outside up against my house right here. The main reasons for leaving this wood rack outside are the last time when I stored wood in my garage, when I got to the bottom of the pile, there was a bunch of bugs, ants, crickets, spiders, all living in my garage at the bottom of the wood pile. Now, I'm not necessarily telling y'all how to build a wood rack here. This is just how I'm gonna build a wood rack using what I have on hand. And the primary goal is to just elevate the wood off of the ground surface to eliminate moisture buildup and critter buildup. You know, all this hard work is gonna be worth a blue light. Let's get to work. I think I'm gonna lay this down first and drag it into position. This orientation allows all those 2x4s at the bottom to elevate this wood rack off the ground. Now I'm gonna unscrew these 2x4s at the top. All right, as y'all can see, I've unscrewed as many of the 2x4s running across the top of this frame as possible, and I'm gonna reconfigure those into side supports for the wood. I'm gonna take 3 of the 2x4s and mount them vertically on one end of this whole rack, take the other 3 and mount them vertically on the other end. I left on the double stacks of the 2x4s on either end of the rack, primarily because the screws are stripped on the other end and I couldn't get them out, but I also thought that they'd add some good side support and structure to this rack. Let's start mounting the 2x4s on the ends. This side is mostly done. Let's try the other side. All right, y'all, the camera died and I'm losing a lot of daylight, but you can see the configuration at this point. I securely attached 3 2x4s to the right side and the left side of the wood rack. I put the remaining 2x4 in the dead center just to add some structural support. I put extra pieces of the pallet in between wide gaps of the base just to try to keep the wood elevated off the driveway. But you can see I started to stack a lot of the wood here. I know it's not that much, I got a lot more to go. Pile number 1, looks like I didn't really make a dent. Pile number 2 is just staring at me menacingly. If you haven't checked out my Chud's Barbecue Chud Rub test video, that's what's going on in this smoker right now. Go check that out. I'm gonna continue to load the makeshift wood rack until it's full. I'm gonna continue to tackle this pile and the next pile. I'm losing light. I'll bring you back to show you the progression of the wood pile. All right, y'all, you can see that I have assembled the wood rack and have started to stack a lot of this wood into the rack. I've completely stacked the first pile of wood that was blocking my fat stack, and I've swept up all the debris. If you're getting wood delivered to your house like I do and they dump it in a big pile, you're gonna wanna save all of the wood chips and the debris that come with that pile because it makes a great fire starter. As you can see, this second pile is still staring at me, wanting to be stacked, but it got really dark last night and it's supposed to rain today, so I'll stack this eventually into this rack. Let's go take a look at how I stack this wood. So as y'all can see, I kind of stack this pretty traditionally, just log on top of log. I've got a front row and I've got a back row, and they're separated by a bit of a gap, and that's because of the length of the wood. If you could see down in between, there is a space and a couple of logs will fall down there, and I'm not too worried about that. You can see the gap in the front row as well, which I don't mind if some logs fall down there either. You could see that I'm only using about 2 of the support systems that I built. All right, y'all, it's been a couple of months since I've actually checked in on this wood storage video, but a couple things have transpired. This wood pile back here is still here. It was staring at me menacingly for months, and due to the holidays, weather, other cooks I've been doing, I haven't really been able to tackle it. But you could see that I have gotten about maybe a third or halfway through this whole pile. And if you look down below the surface, you can see some of the wood was frozen, it's wet, it's got a bunch of chunks of other pieces of wood stuck to it. Not as nice as the exterior of the pile, which I've been pulling from during some cooks. I'm still working on stacking this wood, and I'll probably have to work down the current wood pile that's stacked nice and neat. And as time goes on and I pull from this pile, I'll just have to continue to stack that horrible, ugly pile over there. But let's check how beautiful this wood rack is looking. Here is the current state of the pile. You can almost see the color change halfway up the wood pile. That could be due to the top essentially all being cherry and the bottom mostly being oak, but also I think the top is just wetter. Over time, with that wood just being lumped in a pile, it wasn't situated in the best orientation for the wood to dry out. The wood being situated in this orientation allows the wood to dry out a lot quicker, and when they're all oriented in the same direction, it allows for the wood to dry out at the same rate, more or less. But essentially, this is how I'm storing my wood now. It's exposed to the elements, so it's just gonna dry at a natural rate, and it kind of looks cool outside my house. But that's just a little quick update for y'all on how I'm stacking my wood throughout the year. If you have relatively wet wood or green wood, this is not gonna accelerate the drying process. This is a very natural route when it comes to drying out your wood. If you wanna accelerate the drying process of your wood, the first place you can start is buying kiln dried wood. That wood is already pre-dried. You could also place your wood splits in your cooker while you're cooking to help dry them out. If you're storing your splits indoors, that'll help isolate them from the elements and rain and snow and things of that nature. Now let me throw it over to past Harry for the end of this video. Is this the perfect wood rack? I'd say it's far from it, but it's cradling this wood really, really well. It keeps my wood really close by to my smoker. This is currently holding about a half a quart of wood. Once the wood equilibrates to the natural surrounding environment, it'll have a certain amount of moisture left into it. By constructing the side supports and the middle support, this gives me some flexibility if I wanted to add a top to this rack. In the meantime, if your wood is exposed like mine is, you could place a tarp over the top to help keep moisture off of it. But I like the way this looks. Cost me nothing except for time, but you can quickly do this at home with some materials you have lying around. By stacking the wood in this orientation, it also allows it to naturally dry a lot quicker. And this is just one step closer in keeping my barbecue game neat, clean, organized, and I think it looks pretty cool too. Thank y'all for tuning in to Harry the Horse Barbecue. I really appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Every subscription really helps me out. If you learned a little something about storing your wood, leave a like on this video. If you've got any questions about how I store my wood or any suggestions for how I should be storing my wood, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified every time we're posting new content. And you can follow me on Instagram at Harry the Horse Barbecue. Tag me so I can see what y'all are cooking, because it really inspires me to get outside and cook. And with that being said, there's only one more thing, y'all. You heard this one straight from the horse's mouth. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.